Welcome back, Sebastian here. So time for my preview for the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix, the final race of our, I believe, second triple header of the 2025 F1 season. So first taking a look at our track, the Circuit Catalunya in Barcelona, Spain. One of the, I think, more average circuits on the F1 calendar just in terms of layout. Historically, this has always been a very good test track. Of course, with the removal of that final chicane, it removes some of the slow corner speed elements and does make this a bit more of a high-speed track. So let's take a look at the layout. So sector 1, you have turns 1, 2, and 3. Of course, turn 1 is generally your main overtaking opportunity, but even though you have a pretty long straight, you have DRS, not the best spot to make an overtake because cars do generally carry too much speed into that turn 1, 2 complex, which can make it really hard to get alongside and make a move. Turn 3, again, really fast right-hander. Again, not really a big overtaking spot there. But sometimes opening lap, for example, after a safety car restart, you will sometimes see dive bombs into turn 4. Sector 2, one of my favorite sectors on the F1 calendar, a really nice mix of corners, elevation changes as well. And of course, you have the second DRS straight going from turns 9 to turn 10. And again, turn 10 is another possible opportunity, but generally the straight's not that long. The corner before the straight, turn 9, is a pretty high speed corner, which makes it very difficult to follow through there, and then means following and then overtaking at turn 10 can be a pretty big challenge. Sector 3, you basically have that rather slow speed start to the sector, turns 10, 11, 12, before you have the two fast right-handers, what turn is that? 13 and 14, I believe it is. So, again, one of the more high-speed tracks on the F1 calendar, overtaking pretty difficult here. Not impossible, definitely not Monaco level, but definitely not easy, and qualifying will be very, very important. So, taking a look at some circuit stats, the track is 4.657 kilometers, and we're expected to have 66 laps on Sunday. The race lap record of this current layout is a 1:16.330 set by Max Verstappen in 2023. The average speed of that fastest lap is 220 kilometers an hour, which ranks 13th of the 24 tracks on this year's calendar. The downforce rating is 0.57, so basically medium downforce. This is a track that's going to really test the aerodynamic efficiency of these F1 cars. Full throttle, 57%. Bit interesting that by coincidence it matches the downforce rating, but nonetheless, this is a track where you're on full throttle for quite a lot of the lap, at least relatively more than last week out in Monaco. And corner tendency is medium, a lot of medium to high speed corners, so it'll be quite a lot of lateral stress on the tires here. And I would say last comment on the track, generally I would say front limited circuit, so not rear limited like we had in Miami or we had in Monaco, for example. So again, how you manage those front tires is going to be much more important for getting through those high-speed corners than managing the rears. But that being said, rear tires will always still be important. Now, pole win percentage is 60%, so a little bit above average, I would say. Rookie L qualifying percentage, very high. It's actually 50%. Now, of course, I mentioned before, this has historically been F1's testing track, so winter testing would, for basically almost the vast majority of this data set, has been at, Barcelona. But of course, last couple of years, they've only been testing exclusively at Bahrain, because, Bahrain wants testing for reasons, basically money is why we don't go to Barcelona anymore. But so that even though it's 50% secondary to the 24 tracks, in reality, because we don't have testing here anymore, and it's probably going to be a little bit lower than that. Safety car percentage, 48%, so a little bit below 50, and our first race here was in 1991. Now, of course, there is next season, 2026, the Madrid street circuit is supposed to make its debut. Barcelona still has a contract for next year, so it's possible that we'll have the Barcelona circuit run under some banner like the European Grand Prix, and then you'll also have Madrid. But there's basically been rumblings that there's basically a corruption case involving the Madrid track, and construction's been a little bit delayed. So it's possible that we don't have Madrid next year or at all. and instead we just end up staying in Barcelona. So it'll be interesting to see how things go there. Now, tires for this weekend, basically the opposite of the last 2 weekends. The hardest 3 tires in the Pirelli range, soft C3, medium C2, and the hard C1. For your weekend schedule, pretty much identical to last weekend, actually, in terms of timing. Friday, FP1, 1:30 in the afternoon, qualifying for Formula 2, 3:55 in the afternoon, and FP2 is at 5 p.m. Temperature for FP2, 27 degrees and sunny. So a little bit on the hot side, and this is where things like thermal degradation, cars having a really hard time following because of hot air, and engines being on the limit, that could be a bit of a factor at this weekend with these temperatures. Saturday, FP3, 12:30 in the afternoon, Formula 2 sprint race, 2:15, and then qualifying at 4. Temperature for qualifying, 26 degrees and sunny. Now for Sunday, Formula 2 feature race at 10 a.m., followed by the Grand Prix at 3, and the temperature for the Grand Prix is expected to be 27 degrees and sunny. So very consistent temperatures and weather conditions all through the weekend is what the expectation is. Now, taking a look at last year's race, your winner was Max Verstappen. Of course, this was his last win until the Brazilian Grand Prix, I think 11 races later. Joining him on the podium were Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. Now, not the most eventful race, if I remember correctly. Norris started the race on pole, but lost that pole position into turn 1, something that happened quite a bit last year. And George Russell from P3 on the grid, excellent start, and actually led into the opening corner. In terms of after that, not a ton of big incidents, but there were a little bit of contact. There was contact between the 2 Ferrari drivers, as well as contact between Hamilton and Sainz. So again, not race-ending contact, but just minor collisions here and there. Now, in terms of best and worst qualifiers for this track, compared to their career averages, best qualifier, not a surprise, is local boy Carlos Sainz with a plus 14%. His median qualifying delta here is 7.6 hundredths of a second. Number 2, Lewis Hamilton, also not a big surprise. This is a track he's done very well at. He won for, or took pole many, many years in a row. I believe he won every race from 2017 to 2020. And actually, no, won 2021 as well. So yeah, 5-time winner in a row. Plus 10%, median qualifying delta is 5.9 hundredths of a second. And number 3, the other Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc. Interesting that you have 2 former teammates and 2 current teammates there, and all of them are in the best qualifiers category. So plus 6% with a median qualifying gap of 1.1 tenths of a second. Now, in terms of worst qualifiers, number 1 is actually Lando Norris. A bit of a small sample size for Norris. He's only done, I believe, 6 qualifying sessions here. But yeah, minus 21%. But still, I think 50% is his qualifying percentage here. And a median qualifying gap of 5 hundredths of a second in Norris's favor. Number 2 is Fernando Alonso. Not a great track for Alonso over the years, minus 9% with a median qualifying gap of 1.56 seconds in his favor, ironically enough. And even more surprising, all 3 of our worst qualifiers have actually out-qualified their teammate more often than not, but still below their career averages, and that is George Russell with a minus 8% out-qualifying margin, 0.276 seconds in his favor. Now, taking a look at your quality model predictions for this weekend, the 10 drivers who are predicted to out-qualify their teammates are Piastri, Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell, Alonso, Gasly, Ocon, Hadjar, Sainz, and Hülkenberg. Now, taking a look at some predictions for this weekend. Now, of course, the big talking point going into this weekend is that this is the race where the flexi wing, basically the new flexi wing regulations come into effect, which regulate how much flex the front wings can have in the FIA tests going into before the weekend. And basically the reason why these stricter tests have been put in place is because this could basically be an entire video on its own, but basically under high aerodynamic load, the wings flex. So even if it's a flat plane, basically the edges kind of start flexing down, and it basically creates outwash, and it makes it a bit more difficult for the cars behind to follow. And there's some other aerodynamic benefits as well. So the FIA has basically been trying to clamp down. So they've made the tests stricter. And so that will be coming into effect this weekend. The general talking point is that this could likely affect McLaren and Ferrari worse, and teams like Mercedes and Williams, for example, Red Bull, may be the ones to benefit. But again, we're going to have to wait and see. It's possible this has absolutely no effect whatsoever. It's possible it's the opposite, so it actually benefits McLaren and Ferrari, hurts the other teams. We're just going to kind of have to wait and see. And so in that respect, making accurate predictions for this weekend will be quite a challenge. That being said, this is a track that has a lot more high-speed corners, a lot less low-speed corners, and based on what we saw in Imola, I think, to be honest, Max Verstappen has a good chance of winning this race, assuming the flexi wings aren't a big deal, and I think if the temperatures are not too hot, I think Verstappen has a good chance of winning this race just because of how many high medium-speed corners are, and given how good he is in those types of tracks, and also how good the Red Bull's been relative to the McLaren there. And second and third, I think still I'm going to put the two McLarens. I'm going to put Piastri ahead of Norris. Piastri, I think, has been a little bit better at front limited circuits compared to Norris. So again, I'm putting him ahead, but still could be very, very close between the two McLaren drivers. And I think could easily be the other way around. So there you go. There is my preview for the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix. Should be a good one. Definitely, I think, more on track action than we saw last time out in Monaco. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.